Test, 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 test. Good morning. This is Driving with Myles. I'm a state certified instructor. I teach teens and adults. Today, we're going to talk about the driving errors in your DMV and also your G1 test. Let's talk about search. So when you're driving, you have to search left, middle, right. You always have to scan. You always have to anticipate what pedestrians are doing, what other cars are doing, and you have to be safe. So if you don't have those strong observational skills, you just won't be as successful as you need to be, and you will get marked down. Urban areas have a lot of cars, traffic, people, and lights are constantly changing. Pedestrians are jaywalking. So you got to be really on top of your game and demonstrate that to your DMV tester or road tester. You got to see the big picture. The big picture is, what is your driving environment? Are the lights changing fast? Are the lights changing slow? Are there a lot of pedestrians? Is it a rural area? Is it a residential area? Is it a industrial area? Those are kind of govern what you do. You have to check your blind spots. You have to look over your shoulder. If you're making a lane change to the left, mirror, turn signal, blind spots. You've got to check those blind spots. You've got to be consistent. And if you're consistent, you're going to check those blind spots and you're going to do a really good job. So being consistent at checking blind spots, that's also an area of failure. When you go over railroad crossings, you've got to look left, right, left. If you don't go over a railroad crossing, you will face deductions. And you want to have as low of deductions as possible to give yourself room in case you have a little slippage. We talked about no eye movement or head movement. Many times when I drive student drivers, even adults, they're scared to turn their head. You have to look where you're going. If you're making a right turn, I should see you looking to the right and driving appropriately. I shouldn't see you veering out of the lane to the left. I shouldn't see you going over the curb. You've got to look. Don't be scared to turn your head. A lot of beginning drivers stop unnecessarily. This is including pushing in the clutch, having a car kind of lunge or surge ahead. You really need to make sure that you're in the appropriate gear, whether it's a manual or you're going the right speed. Driving with the manual takes a little bit more eye-hand-foot coordination. Driving with the automatic, same thing. You have to have that eye-hand coordination. When you're driving a manual, you have to have the eye-hand and foot coordination because you're pushing in that clutch. So you got to be able to maintain your speed so the car doesn't stall out. If you're a distracted driver, many of us drive distracted, so it's super important that you have a balance. Put up the cell phone. Stay focused on your driving test. It could be 35 minutes. It could be 45 minutes. It varies from state to state, county to county, province to province, country to country. And because of COVID, a lot of things have simply changed. And the tests are in the parking lot. The tests are reduced, but you still have to master those skill sets. And mastering is really important because you want to be a safe driver. You want to be a consistent driver. You should know how to parallel park. You should know how to park uphill, downhill, including pulling up the e-brake and having your steering wheels turned appropriately. You need to know which direction your wheels are. If you're parking downhill, you want to turn your wheels all the way to the right, pull up that park brake. If you're parking uphill, you want to turn your wheels all the way to the left and pull up that park brake. That is extremely important. If you have to hit an object, you want to hit something soft. You never want to hit a tree, a rock, or something hard because the impact will kill you and the passenger. So always know if you have to go to an off-road situation, and going off can be dangerous, you want to make sure you hit something soft or side swipe. Right? You want to minimize damage. You want to be safe. Let's talk about braking. A lot of beginning drivers hit the brakes too hard. You'll surge and lunge forward. Also, your speed control over the railroad tracks. You want to go smoothly. You want to look left, right, and left before you go over and gently. And if you're in the wrong gear, you're going to stall out the car, thereby losing points. Or if you're in too low of a gear or too high of a gear. So you want to be in that first or second gear and go over there smoothly. A lot of beginner drivers check the speedometer too much. Quit looking down, just like I'm looking, aim high, look ahead, see what's going on, and identify what you need to see. Drive with your eyes. Everything is focused in front of you, not behind you, not beside you. You have to focus in front of you. This way you can anticipate traffic slowing down, traffic speeding up. Um, you want to be really smooth when applying the brakes. You want to be smooth when you're pushing in the clutch, not to upset the balance of the car. You want to make that tester feel smooth and comfortable. You want to be able to shift gears smoothly. So that's super important. You also want to have, if you're exiting the expressway, you have to slow down. And you have to slow down before you go into the curb and maintain safe travels around sharp curves. You have your chevron alignment signs. Those chevron alignment signs are there for a reason. They're there to warn you that other things are coming and you need to reduce your speed. So reduce your speed, have safe travels. Those warning signs and guide signs are there for a reason. And if you're in the wrong gear, your car is going to rev up or it's going to slow down, and that's the deduction in points. If you have someone in your family with the manual, or if you're going through that G1, and there are a lot of cars across the world that are still manuals, you need to learn how to drive a manual. You need to be in appropriate gear. You need to use the clutch at the right time. You need to let your clutch up easy so it doesn't stall the car or shock the drivetrain. You also want to coast at the right time. Those things are important. Let's talk about direction and space control, right? Direction and space control. You have to use your turn signal. And turn signals do multiple things. You have a light that's flashing. We as humans look at lights. And when you look at lights, that's going to let people know what you're doing. That blinker is there for a reason. If you're making a left turn lane change, you have to use your blinker. Mirror, turn signal, blind spot. You look over your shoulder, you accelerate through the lane change. A lot of beginning drivers just kind of coast and you upset the balance of the car. You've got to be smooth, you've got to be efficient, and you've got to be quick. And in those things, that's what I'm looking for as a driver's ed instructor. That's what the DMV tester is looking for. Smooth, efficient, safe lane changes where you check. Also, lane line. A lot of beginning drivers are hugging the right or hugging the left. You got to be able to look straight ahead and aim high. And if you aim high and look ahead, you won't be drifting to the right. You won't be drifting to the left. You have to look ahead to anticipate what traffic is doing. Is traffic slowing down? Is traffic speeding up? Is there an accident or a lane blockage in your lane? You got to be able to anticipate that, because if you wait till the last second, like a lot of beginning drivers do, you're going to run out of lane and run out of space, and then you're stuck. So that's why it's super important that you look ahead and aim high. Are you making a bad gap? If you don't know what a gap is, you need to look back through my content, and then I'll talk about that. A gap is where you pull out in front of traffic. A lot of beginning drivers wait till the last second, and they pull out right in front of a car. That's dangerous for oncoming cars. That's dangerous for us as people who are testing, people who are teaching. You want to make sure you have a 3, 4, 5 space gap, car space gap. And then you can effectively and smoothly go into the first lane, get in that first gear, shift to second gear, get in the third, you're 35 miles an hour, and then you're safe. So those things are really important. Have that proper gap. And when you have that proper gap, then you're going to make sure that you're able to see the flow of the traffic. Next, if you go beyond the stop line, that's easy points that you're giving away. Be consistent. And if you don't practice in your G1 phase or your level 1 phase, you're just not going to perform the way you want to on your road test. That is super important, because you want to perform and be at your best when you take your road test or that last drive. Typically, a last drive is smooth, it's consistent. Students are driving well. They're making smooth lane changes. They're checking their mirror and blind spot. If a light changes a color, they're able to make a really good decision. And over time, you will be at that. So you've got to practice every single phase, whether it's a segment 1, a segment 2, a G1, a G2. Let's talk about if you go on the sidewalk. If you go on the sidewalk, you're going to lose points. If you're going to hit the curb, you're going to lose points. So you got to work those basic fundamentals of scanning and looking and identify what's going on. Let's talk about intersections. If your car's too far up in the intersection, you're blocking the flow of traffic. If you're too far behind, you can't see. So it has to be a balance, and that comes through practice. And that's why you need to rely on your instructor to help you. And it's all about helping people. It's all about helping people be successful. One hand steering, I'm not a big fan of that. You got to have both hands on the wheel. In some cases, you will get marked down. I'm not talking about when you shift a manual. When you shift a manual, obviously, you're going to have to take one hand off the wheel, shift, and then immediately get your hand back on the wheel. If I'm driving a manual and I want to get into fourth gear, my shifter's down here. If I'm driving a left-hand driver, I have to hold the steering wheel with my left hand, and I have to reach down and shift a gear. And if you shift your gear too hard, you're going to upset the balance of the car. So you have to shift smoothly. If you shift it hard and pop that clutch up hard, you're going to upset the balance, and you could spin out. Same thing if you're with the automatic. If you lift your foot off the gas or you're too jerky, you're going to upset the balance of the car. Let's talk about non-smooth merges. When you're exiting off the freeway, there's chevron alignment signs. There are warning signs. You have to deaccelerate on that deacceleration lane. Please give me a thumbs up. I see you out there. You have to deaccelerate on that deacceleration lane to lose speed. So when you get into that curve, centrifugal force doesn't pull you to the outside. Do all permit subjects need... do all the permit subjects I need to learn, please? I'm going through some right now. Peggy, just, kind of, if you can, just, are you from the United States? Are you from one of the states? I'm talking about some of the general driving habits that cause people to fail, and it covers a G1, a G2. I'm talking about observation skills, steering control, shuffling the wheel, palming the wheels. When you palm it, you could lose control. Here in the States, we turn hand over hand into the turn. We turn hand over hand out. And I understand in some other parts of the world, they do hand to hand. And if you're in that part of the world, if you're in that part of the world, you need to be familiar with the rules. Are they expecting me to turn hand over hand? Are they expecting me to do hand to hand? Am I expected to know how to drive a manual? What if I'm in the wrong gear and the car lunges forward? What if I'm in the wrong gear going over railroad tracks and the car stalls? That's scary. What if I'm in the middle of the intersection getting ready to make a left-hand turn, which are very dangerous, and you start out in second gear? The car's going to stall. So you got to know what gear you're in, and you got to know how your clutch is. Some clutches are really stiff. Some clutches are really soft. So I'm going over all the permit, I'm going over all the ways people can fail, and I'll go into greater detail. So we talked about palming the wheel, shuffling your hands, which you really won't be able to turn the wheel. If you're making a 90-degree turn, a right-hand turn, you've got to turn hand over hand. If you're parallel parking, you have to be able, and I'm talking about reverse parallel parking. Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. Please give it a thumbs up. And please tell your friends, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. That's what I need, because I'm about teaching, Ms. Harris, and I do appreciate that very much. So you've got to learn, and this is how we're going to teach in the future, right? You've got to be able to turn hand over hand. If you're doing your reverse parallel park, you got to turn hand over hand to the right. The rear of the car will go into the right. The front will swing. And then you got to turn back hand over hand. You can't do it shuffling. You could probably do it palming the wheel, but you're not really going to have good control. Okay, a DMV tester, rail tester will mark you down. If you're making a 90-degree right turn, you've got to turn hand over hand into the turn, hand over hand out. Be consistent, right? A lot of beginning drivers don't know when their wheels are straight. It's they turn and a half all the way to the right. It's they turn and a half all the way to the left. Every car steering ratio is different, just like a school bus versus a Corvette, just like a Corvette versus a dump truck. You got to know that steering ratio when you make those turns. So let's also we talked about shuffling. Let's talk about timing. And a lot of beginning drivers lack timing. Let's pretend we're going to make a right-hand turn and we're at 40 miles an hour. We're going to lose control of our car. You need to come into that turn 12, 10 miles an hour. You need to look to the left, check traffic. You need to look to the right to make sure it's clear. And you slow down and squeeze the brake, and then you turn hand over hand. Miss Peggy, do you have any questions for me? Please ask. because I'm about student involvement. Put questions in there, give it a thumbs up. So timing is a big thing. When we make left-hand turns, are you going to go up to the middle? Are you going to overshoot the intersection? And when you turn, you're going to be on the street to the right. Are you not going to go up far enough? And then when you turn, are you going to be in the left lane? I've had students do that. So it's all timing and space. And if you haven't done that before, your instructor's got to show you. And I'm a very hands-on person. I want to show my students that they can learn. I want to demonstrate the skill set because I'm in the car too. A lot of beginning drivers turn on the blinker too early. That confuses drivers behind you. Or if they turn it on too late, you're driving at 35, 45, 50, and they turn the blinker on in one blink, and then you almost rear them. So timing is important, right? You got to turn that blinker on 100 feet, a half a block. Allow people to see it, 3 blinks, 5 blinks, 4 blinks. Now, timid and aggressive. I remember talking to a student. If you're too timid, example, we have to pull out and make a right turn. You've got to look at traffic, you've got to judge that distance, and then you've got to make that right turn. If you're hesitant and inconsistent, a car will almost hit you. They'll have to swerve out of the lane. You'll pull in front of a car. That is failure. That's a dangerous maneuver, and your tester could terminate the test. They don't need to have a reason. They have to write it down. You can appeal that. If you run a light, that could terminate the test. If you cut off a car, that could terminate the test. Any dangerous maneuver, and you do have a right to appeal, but that tester's got to document student made a dangerous right-hand turn, pulled out in front of a truck. I had to turn the wheel to the right, so we did not get hit. And then they document, and then you go back. If you're too aggressive, same thing. If you pull out in front of a car just within 2 cars, that's dangerous. That's aggressive. So I look at those things who are pulling out of a private drive, out of a gas station, out of a drive-through. Can the student look to the left, judge distance? If you can't judge distance, you're going to pull out in front of a car. And that's really dangerous for a beginning driver. That's dangerous for inexperienced drivers. And if your mom or dad, auntie or uncle are not taking you out there in real city, real environmental driving, you're going to make some grave driving errors. And then they're not going to want to take you out anymore. So you got to start in the neighborhoods. You got to start in downtown areas, start in parking lots, and then gradually build yourself up so you are consistent. We're almost done here. Poor timing. A light's getting ready to turn green. Mom or dad, you look to the left, you see a cement truck, you see a semi truck. They're not going to stop. They're going to blow that soft or hard yellow or soft red, and then your son or daughter sees the green, they floor it. You've got to make sure you have to look ahead to see if your son or daughter is actually analyzing the intersection, analyzing the information. If they're not, an accident will happen. So you've got to teach those real life driving skills. Real life driving skills is not driving in the subdivision. Real life driving skills is driving in downtown areas, urban areas, rural areas, moderate traffic. So you can learn, understand the flow. I have some great content out. And if you haven't done so, you need to subscribe. Yielding. You're making a right turn. You see a pedestrian coming by. Are you going to turn in front of them and make your turn? Or are you going to yield? Let them walk by, let your instructor smile. Then you make that beautiful right turn. That's really important. And then non-failing traffic. You're going 10 under the limit, 12 under the limit. You're deemed an inexperienced driver. You're holding up to the flow. You'll get 1 warning. And then after that, that will terminate the test. So I just want to say thank you. This has been Driving with Myles. I'm a certified instructor. I teach teens and adults. I've been doing driver's ed 21 years. So I need you to subscribe. If you haven't done so, right up there, Driving with Myles. So I need you to subscribe. I need you to get this a thumbs up. And I want to say thank you. And I plan on going live later today. God bless you and thank you. Have a blessed day. Subscribe. Thumbs up. Thank you.